AEW is finally fun to watch again. I said it, man. I said it. I'm in the WWE camp, but Brian is a little busy right now, but he'll be back soon. Don't worry about it. But I gotta say, last week was pretty good with the final segment. This week, not just the final segment, Kenny Omega. We're gonna talk about Kenny Omega. Don't worry about that. But the opening with Swerve and Christian being pitted against each other, I actually am interested in something Orange Cassidy is doing, which is wild to me. I thought never in my life would I say that. And we got Adam Cole on the horizon waiting to return. Adam Page on the horizon waiting to return. Kenny Omega is, yeah, he returned, but he's going to return to in-ring wrestling as well. So we got a lot to look forward to each and every single week. You know what, Kenny? I like it, man. I like it. But what do you think? How was the show tonight?
Oh, I'm an AEW. Well, I'm a wrestling guy, but I love AEW. And this is the first time me and you were talking about the show, so I love to hear you say that. I thought the show was great, and I thought it has been a lot better ever since Dynasty. So I'm ready to jump right in here because I want to talk about every one of those segments you just mentioned. So where you want to start at?
All right. Well, I want to first start off with Dynasty actually because that's a great point you made. I remember myself saying that Dynasty, it's not perfect. Just like this show is not perfect, but it's a step at the right direction. We don't have 12 matches. Most of the matches have stories. The pacing is good, and so they've been able to kind of keep that good momentum going. I don't know if Tony like hit a wall or so. Well, he got punched and maybe pile driven, but that was after Dynasty. I don't know what happened, but Tony is doing good right now. Knock on wood. Hopefully he just keeps this going. But yeah, let's talk about Swerve, man. What do you think them putting Swerve against Christian?
I think it's actually the perfect feud for him. Now, I got on the show a little bit late, and when I saw it, they were like, "Oh, Swerve's taking it on Christian." I was like, "Oh man, I don't want them to just do match after match. I want
Yeah.
this feud to actually mean something." And when I caught up and saw it, Swerve actually came out there. I've been pretty critical on his promos, but I thought he was actually pretty good tonight. And I think they picked the perfect opponent to elevate him.
Hmm.
Now, it wasn't just like, "Oh, you're facing Christian now." There was actually backstory to this because we remember back in the day, Swerve went to Nick Wayne's gym, beat him down. Now Christian's like, you know what? I want your title, and you did this, so I got a few reasons to be coming at you. So I thought this was perfect the way they tied everything together, and I don't want it to be one and done. Hopefully, some kind of trickery or buffoonery happens when they have the match, and then we can spin off and just make this a bigger feud where they maybe even get one more because I think Christian has been so good, and I hate for him to just lose and then brush him away. So I think these two can do a lot of good stuff. Were
Exactly.
you satisfied with where they went with this?
Well, my Christian is my favorite AEW wrestler and one of my favorite wrestlers in general. So anytime he's on screen, I love to see it. And Swerve, when are you gonna learn that your actions have consequences, my boy? This is what happens when you mess with the father. But I liked it. Like, yeah, the story they gave us a bit of, again, is this AEW? What's going on? Like, they had story here. I loved it. The one thing I don't like is the Mother Wayne or whatever. I think like she's kind of weird, the whole dynamic there. And there's too many people following Christian. I don't think, like, just put Nick Wayne with him, in my humble opinion. Just put Nick Wayne. Them two is good enough. There are some, nitpicking I can do there. But Christian, I think when I think about it, he's the only heel opponent that's going to be good for Swerve right now that I can think of. And you said, let's drag this out a little bit, right? Make this a couple of matches instead of one. Well, who's a better person to do that? I mean, we hated every single time their feud with Edge or Adam Copeland, like, prolonged, but every single time when they had the match, it was one of the most interesting matches of the night, or the craziest match of the night. So my man knows how to pull through, so I have no qualms about it. And yeah, I was super worried about what they were gonna do with Swerve, because besides Hangman Adam Page, let's be honest, there was really nothing like jumping out at us. But this is good. Like, Christian is gonna take us on a ride. It's sad that he's gonna lose, but he has to lose, man. Swerve needs a couple of wins before he drops that title. Otherwise, it's gonna be tough. But yeah, this was just a great way to start. Set the tone nicely, and then we had a couple of long matches like the Edge and, well, I keep calling him
I
Edge,
do
but
want to,
that's
before we get off of
oh
that
yeah,
segment, I
oh
do
yeah.
want to say, you said you weren't too big on Mama Wayne. I was
Mm.
thinking the same thing. I didn't understand it because she was like 7 foot tall standing there and Swerve was so much shorter than her. I was like, why
Yeah,
would they do that? Like, why would they
yeah.
put her in that position? Then you look, she got these big heels on. So I'm like, you just made your guys look even worse. And she looks like, what's the lady from Resident Evil 8? I think it was Lady.
Oh,
I was like, is that
Dimitrescu, something like
totally up
that.
there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. I think that was the only thing with that segment.
If
But
she
yeah,
went with that kind of a gimmick, she would be over. But like, she gives me that Brandy Rhodes kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing in the ring. I'm a little awkward, very green, and all that is the reality, honestly. So I mean, not just in this segment, in every single segment she's been in, it's been kind of iffy for me. So whatever. Next thing I was gonna talk about real quick was Adam Copeland, and we had the Malachi Black thing happen. It was weird, honestly. It wasn't something to write home about. So I'm just gonna move on to bigger and better things. Like, what's
I'm
that?
sorry. I just want to ask you something about that as well, because when he had the backstage segment afterwards, he was saying like she was like, "What's going on with you? Are you okay?" And he was kind of like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm good." Like he was kind of acting like he was shaking or something. Do you
Hmm.
think they're leading him into a role where he's gonna join the House of Black and kind of do like what he was doing in the Judgment Day?
Bingo, my friend. That's actually a very good epiphany or whatever we may call this. This is actually, yeah. I never thought about that, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Especially when you remember that, like, the Judgment Day was gonna have these supernatural powers and stuff, blacking out the ring. He was doing all of that, and then he suddenly cut it off. Maybe now he will continue. But I liked what they did with Kyle O'Reilly a little after. That's what I wanted to focus on as well. Like, he came out there, hey, I'm Canadian. I always looked up to you. Again, just a little bit of story, a bit of backstory, a reason for us to care. And then he, eyed his title. So planting those little seeds, something to look forward to. Got anything
Yeah,
to
so
say about
what's
that?
going on there? I'm actually interested in what they're doing with this as well, because I would like to see if they did give him that Dark Judgment Day character in the black suit, kind of looking evil. I think
Right?
that'd be an interesting Adam Copeland. So that's another feud I'm keeping an eye
It's
on.
better than him just coming out there as Adam Copeland. I'm gonna do the spear. It's a different gimmick. It's a different flavor. So that's gonna be interesting. And next up, I want to focus on Orange Cassidy and Mr. Trent Beretta. I hated Orange Cassidy because he just does the same joke. He finally does something different now. He's out there serious, and he comes out there and he says something of some substance. The fact is, Chuck Taylor, right? That's his name. He's no longer able to wrestle. Apparently, he's permanently done
Big
because of
angle.
yeah, because of Mr. Trent Beretta, which was meandering for the longest time, doing absolutely nothing. And his heel turn, I've been interested in, and not just this week, but the past couple of weeks. I thought it was interesting. And, Chris Santlander, the separator, that's what I'm going to call her at this point, because she just comes out to separate people. She came out there. Orange Cassidy went to the back with Don Callis. What the hell's going on in there? Like,
Yes, I love Don Callis, so I'm interested to see if they switch Orange Cassidy's character to make him like kind of a bad guy with Don Callis. So
I'm a bad
yeah,
man. Orange Cassidy. What's a bad version of Orange Cassidy? I don't know. Pineapple. I don't know. Some stupid name.
Pomegranate Cassidy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. So, good promo, something of substance, stories, and plants, seeds being planted. It's good. This is more fun than both drafts combined. Come at me in the chat. Come at me in the chat. Like, we got to be honest here. We got to be real here. And let's talk about the main event. We're going to skip a couple of stuff, but we got to talk about Kenny Omega the most. He came out there and he was also real. He talked about his injury. He talked about the EVP stuff. From one Kenny to another. What did you think, man?
You know what? I was looking at it like, is this like the best Kenny Omega promo of all time? Like, he didn't like do anything crazy, but he was just out there. Seemed like he was being himself, not trying to cut the wrestler promo, being witty and stuff. He was just out there talking, and I was like, you know what? This is good. Any other time I've seen Kenny Omega cut a promo, it's been cringe, but I felt like it was good this time. What did you think?
Absolutely, man. Like, the last time I remember him cutting a promo, he was checked out. He was also meandering in the fact that he had no storyline, he had nothing to talk about. So it was like, oh man, you guys are like cats. You piss and poop sometimes, and you smell weird. Like that, he was saying stuff like that. I'm like, what are you doing, Kenny? And I always wanted him to be presented in AEW like he was presented in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and this is the closest, maybe the same thing we've gotten to that, and I love it. I love every single second of it. Kenny Omega used to be my favorite wrestler for a time when he was on the indies doing his thing with Kazuchika Okada in New Japan, when he was being serious, when he had an actual story. He was still being funny and doing goofy stuff on the side, but when it came down to it, Kenny Omega was as serious as it gets, and he had a good story. And now it's the same thing again. He's being serious. He has a good story. Was he a little goofy in his promo? A little tiny bit, but he focused on being emotional, talked about his injury, made us, bite the bullet, like saying, oh, I might retire and stuff like that. It was good. Like, again, it was substantial, and it showed that Kenny Omega can absolutely be a star. And I just want to beat up Tony Khan, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, you had this guy that could do all of this for all this time. And now you're, at least now they're using him before it's too late. But yeah, I loved it.
Great time to course correct, and now they got to do it here. So I was happy with the promo he did tonight. But after the promo, you want to go on with what happened?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say before, but that's all you're gonna say up until this point, right?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Kenny Omega, good man. The old Kenny Omega, at least for this week, hopefully forever now, will be back. And this was good. Like, this was double thumbs up. Kazuchika Okada came out there, the man who replaced Kenny Omega in the Elite, and he said, in a weird voice tone, he suddenly just screamed, I'm the best bat machine now. Look at me. Yeah. I'm the captain now. That's what he said. And yeah, it's good. It's good. Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada writes itself. But the best thing about this is, in my humble opinion, is that now they also have a story. Because that's what made their first match special. Kenny Omega was like this, foreigner. He was trying to be a legend in Japan, and he had all this backstory. So everything he did in that match against Kazuchika Okada mattered, right? One-on-one, on paper, it's a great match. Just like Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, it's a great match. But it was lacking the story. That's why it's never going to be my best match of the year, favorite match of all time. Never, because it didn't have the story. This now has the story, and the best story in AEW to boot. So I'm super excited for this eventual match that's probably going to happen in London. I mean, everything about this, I love. There are some nitpicks I can do, but overall, hell yeah, give me more of this. Kenny?
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, when Okada came out with that microphone, I was like, oh boy. But they kept it short. Yeah. They kept it sweet. Yeah, I am the best bout machine now. Pretty much, that was it. Jack Perry came from behind and blasted him. Now, I didn't like them beating up Jack Perry so soon because he's just coming back.
Kenny Omega?
He's coming, being shown in this new light. But Kenny Omega beat him down pretty bad.
Right.
He did come back and, he got his stuff back. But I would have protected him a little bit more. But he was doing a lot better with his promos as well. I'm not sure if New Japan helped him out. But he seems a lot more confident on the mic now in this position. So I'm excited to see where they go with Jack Perry as well. I think this story is going to really help him out too.
See, that's another good catch because for all my excitement, I forgot that he got the Dragon Suplex, right? That was him.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So, that's weird because I think the Young Bucks should have gotten beat, basically. Nobody else. Yeah, Jack Perry should have stood tall and didn't even get touched, honestly. Yeah, that's a great point. Why would you do that? Because you're trying to position this guy as pretty much the biggest or the leader, So what are you doing with that, Tony? Come on, we got to talk about that. Yeah, that's tough. But yeah, other than that, Kenny Omega selling the diverticulitis injury. Yeah, sure. One thing I didn't like about the segment was the Young Bucks coming out and saying oh, come on, stop it, you're doing too much, which they do every single segment ever. Stop doing that. I'm getting pissed. It's like Solo Sikoa coming up with the hoodie, man. We know what's gonna happen. Come on, don't waste their time.
Yep. But and they do the same thing before the EVP trigger. They're like, come on. And the guy crawls up to him and they just grab their hand are they going to do it? Yep, they sure did blast Kenny tonight. Mm-hmm. And Jack Perry was throwing out chair shots. These guys look like they were trying to get their hands up, but he was hitting right on the head.
Yeah,
I mean, I like it, but you got to be careful.
Exactly. Look, our point of view here is that it's as long as it's fun, we'll love it. But yeah, obviously take care of your health and man. So good episode. Again, just not just one segment, but the beginning was nice. We got a couple of good segments in the middle, and the ending was super nice. And this was a 2-hour show. AEW has a lot of potential, always had a lot of potential. If they continue like this, I know for a fact, a couple of my friends told me directly, and I know other friends who didn't tell me, who also don't care about AEW, they don't watch it ever. They were last week, I saw what happened in that segment. That was interesting. That was cool. This is how you build a brand. This is how you get more people to watch. This is how you actually become competition to the WWE or an alternative at the very least. So again, nothing here was perfectly done, but this is a huge step in the right direction. Like, again, we have storylines not just for next week, but for, all the way to London. Like, this is a better build up than, some other WrestleMania matches. Like, you look at what WWE is doing with Backlash right now. They're doing like a 1 millisecond build up to matches because they press the send button and they announce the match, and here you go. But anyways,
last week was really good, and I think this was the perfect follow-up episode to it, because a lot of times we'll see them do something good and they just don't follow up. You get another show the next week with just long match after match after match. I feel like in between pretty much every match this time, we got story, and even in those matches they were telling stories. So this is the way AEW needs to go. I feel like they were doing this at one point, but like kind of after Samoa Joe won the championship, that's like my downside. I feel like it was going downhill, and now I feel like we're back on the upslope. So I'm excited again to watch next week, and we'll see where we go.